What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jimmy James 59, and I haven't been putting out a ton of videos lately, but I really had to get this one out there. In the Mountain Royals DLC that was just recently announced, there's a number of balance changes, and one of those is to the Japanese. Japanese cav archers are going to receive +2 attack versus archers upon the release of Mountain Royals DLC as we know it today. And what I want to do in this video is persuade you of two things. The first is that this bonus not only makes them probably the best cavalry archers in the game, but is also, at the moment, I think fairly overtuned, which means that it probably needs to be changed. And I want to tell you why and give you some ideas of what those changes could be. The second thing I also want to put forward here is that I think Japanese cav archers being some of the best in the game is a move in the right direction for the civilization. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at a test of Castle Age cavalry archers. You can see here, right, even though in the Imperial Age we just have normal cav archers, we have Japanese on one side, and we have the Saracens on the other. I'm going to go ahead and unpause this game. Well, these two armies patrol into one another, right? We have 20 on either side. You can see they have the exact same upgrades, but the Japanese cav archers are doing actually a lot more damage, right? They're going to be doing quite a bit more, as you can see, and they're going to end the Castle Age with about, we take a look at the HP here, a solid, really this one cav archer is about dead, so about 35% or so of their HP remaining. That's pretty massive, right? Now, I think we can go ahead, right, jump out of this, and let's go ahead and plus this up, and we'll put both of these cav archers on post-Imperial Age, and let's just go ahead and run this back, right? We can see the upgrades are the same, easy day, but these Japanese cav archers, they are they're having a ball here. They're doing a really good job. You can see, right, they have about 15 in their army left. Again, this is a pretty similar trade. Shouldn't come to us as much of a surprise. Again, they still have that +2 advantage, right? Basically, they're negating the Pierce armor from something, say, like Parthian Tactics. And, yeah, we can see that once again, it's a pretty similar trade. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 cav archers that were basically about really low HP. So they're going to be ending with, once again, about 35% of their HP left. Now, that's against the Saracens, right? The Saracens are a fully upgraded cavalry archer civ. So let's go ahead, right, run this back. Take a look at the Japanese versus some of the other top cav archer civilizations, right? Let's go ahead and check out the Turks. The Turks are going to have 100 HP. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Once again, we have the two armies patrolling into one another, right? We have our Turks with our 100 HP, right? Pretty easy day here. Both the armies are into position about at the same time, so should be pretty even timings here. And you can tell, right? It's a bit more of an even fight. The Turk cav archers are hanging in there a bit more, but they are getting thinned out. And this is something that, well, I mean, you can see the Japanese are about 7 CA left. Turks pretty similar, but having that higher attack means that you just snowball these fights if you are Japanese. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the this other cav archer into the mix there. Perfect. And, the Turks have a lot of HP here, but, the Japanese cav archers are really thinning out the Turks here, and you can see basically, right, this is a pretty even fight. I've actually run this, simulation a few times. I get some different responses to it. But it generally ends up where Japanese cav archers, they've won every time I've done it, and usually with anywhere from like 2 to 3, which is to say that I think we can say that Japanese cav archers now are a bit better even than Turks. But the thing that you have to remember is that Japanese cav archers are getting this bonus for free. They're getting it in Castle Age, and so Turks are having to pay for their bonus. So this is just, this is free stuff. Let's go ahead, right, and test this against the cav archer that many people consider the best in the game. We'll go ahead and take a look at the Magyars here. And the Magyars are going to get a nice little bonus in that we take a look, right? The Magyars are going to have an extra attack and a little bit of extra range. So you can see the Magyars are into position a little bit faster than the Japanese, which is a big advantage in patrolling. And they're going to be doing some significant damage, but just take a look at how the HP is going down, right? This is a pretty good fight for the Japanese. They're going to be thinning out this this army fast, right? You can see that the Turks' added durability really helps them against the Japanese cavalry specifically because it's really countering that DPS, right? Whereas the Magyars, yes, they have a high DPS, but Japanese win. This is a pretty comfortable victory here. I mean, this is, we could call this an even, let's just call this about 4.5 cav archers left. And so that's about a 20% HP advantage, and that's pretty stable as well. Now, so we kind of complete the trifecta here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Tatars, probably the other top cav archer civilization I would think on this list. I'm just kind of looking to see if there's somebody else we can look at, but you know what? Those really are the big ones. So let's go ahead, right? Take a look at this. See how Tatars are going to stack up here, and the advantage of Tatars, right, is you get an extra pierce armor. You also get extra melee armor, right? Now, something to consider about Tatars as we watch this fight is that, you know, Tatars get a lot of free upgrades themselves. So free Parthian tactics, free thumb ring. So you can get some nice advantages there. But as we can see, right, the Japanese cav archers are holding up extremely well versus the Tatar CA here. And this is a pretty convincing fight once again. Again, once you get the numbers advantage with Japanese cav archers, that's where this really snowballs, right? Because you you win those fights so much quicker. This is about, you know, let's just call this another like 4.5 to 5 CA left. So again, 20 to 25% of your army is going to be left over. Those are the top cav archer civilizations in the game. And we also want to test this out against Mangudai. We have them here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Right, remember, Mangudai don't have a lot of pierce armor, but they do have the faster firing rate. They do pretty well. Again, this is equal numbers here, right? We can see Japanese CA are stacking up really well, and once they get that little numbers advantage, it really does add up here, and it looks like we're going to see Japanese CA winning once again. Yes, even versus Mangudai. It's a pretty similar story here, about 5 cav archers remaining. Japanese CA, I think in this next patch, while this bonus is around, are going to be the best cavalry archer in the game. Now remember, this bonus doesn't just apply to the cavalry archers, right? It applies to the whole armor class of archers. So this is going to include arbalists and skirmishers. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that now. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here at some Incan arbalists, and we have, well, we can see that they're getting thinned out very easily at this point. Now, arbalists usually do get thinned out pretty easily by cavalry archers, but, you know, this is kind of on another level here, right? That was no contest, so let's see if we can mess around with the numbers just a bit. So what I've done here is I've given the Incan arbalesters a 50% advantage in terms of their numbers. So just kind of see how the Japanese CA stack up. They did pretty well before, but we can see here, right, that they're doing a nice job thinning out these units. And honestly, this is not a bad fight for the Japanese CA. And I think we're going to see them. It should be a pretty even fight here. Well, this is something that makes a lot of sense, actually. Because, you know, Japanese cav archers are, you know, more population efficient, but arbalists are a bit more cost efficient. So that was a pretty even trade. So once again, we can see with even 50% of the numbers, right? Japanese CA still win against arbalists. This is an amazing advantage for this unit. Now let's go ahead and take a look at skirmishers. Okay, so let's take a look at some 20-on-20 action between the Japanese CA and skirmishers. And what we can see here, right, it's a pretty decent fight we've got going on, but these skirmishers die very, very quickly. And that really gives Japanese CA an incredible numbers advantage when you stop and look at it here. I mean, you just take a look. That's massive. Japanese, this is an even battle, and Japanese CA end with over half their HP remaining. This is nuts. And remember, this bonus is also going to be occurring in the Castle Age as well. Okay, so we've taken a look at some of the testing here. I did go back and do this for the Castle Age, and the same story really just holds true. The biggest issue that this new bonus creates is actually with the skirmishers. Simply put, skirmishers, which should be one of the better counters to cav archers, if not the best counter, die very quickly to Japanese cavalry archers with this +2 attack. If you just crunch the numbers, it makes a lot of sense. If you take regular cavalry archers in Castle Age, they kill an elite skirmisher in about 18 shots. Japanese cav archers in Castle Age can do it in 9. In the Imperial Age, heavy cavalry archers can kill elite skirmishers with all your armor upgrades in about 12 shots. Japanese do it in 7. So again, similar story. So this is a pretty big change for the Civ, and I think that it is going to need a change much sooner rather than later. I would even anticipate a change coming in a hot fix of some kind, because I really think Japanese cav archers might just be that dominant. Now, before I give you some options for how I think that we can change this bonus, I first want to establish why I do think Japanese cav archers getting a bonus is a step in the right direction. And there's a few reasons for this. One, Japanese really got hit hard by the crossbow and arbalist upgrades becoming more expensive. This is a civilization that really relied on those units, usually to get through the early to mid game. And because those units were just generic, when they became more expensive, it just really hit the civilization hard. Because your cavalry is not that great, it's not bad per se, but you're missing the last unit upgrade for both your heavy and light cavalry. That means you're missing paladin and hussar respectively, and you're also missing the last cavalry archer armor upgrade, so it's a tough pill to swallow. Japanese cav archers getting a buff, I think, gives you a pretty interesting option that you can go for instead of the foot archer, which is a little bit tougher to get to now. The second reason that this is a step in the right direction is the unit composition to support heavy cavalry archers has typically been light cavalry. But because Japanese light cavalry is so mediocre, Japanese as a civ are going to have to lean a lot more on their cavalry archers to hold up that composition against opponents. So it makes sense that you would want to have cavalry archers that are a little more on the better side, just to kind of balance the fact that your light cav are pretty mediocre. If you think of the other top cavalry archer civilizations in the game, whether it's Mongols, Turks, Magyars, Huns, for instance, right? They all have pretty strong hussars. Even maybe some of your more mid-tier cav archer civs like Vietnamese and Bulgarians still have pretty good light cavalry, right? Vietnamese get the at least the last armor upgrade, even though they're missing paladin and blast, missing hussar and blast furnace. And of course, Bulgarians have some of the best hussars in the game, right? So Japanese really kind of stand out, and as long as the light cavalry unit is going to sort of maintain its mediocre position in the game, I think you have to give them a cavalry archer that helps them compensate for it. Now, a knee-jerk reaction to this idea is to say, okay, well, if your light cav are mediocre, remember you have some of the best halberdiers in the game. So maybe what you could just do is play cav archer halb combinations, right? However, this unit comp has two major drawbacks. The first one is that would really slow down your army, and one of the things about having cav archers is your mobility. And if you're relying on halberdiers to defend the unit, perhaps against incoming waves of melee cavalry, you lose one of your best advantages. And the second issue is that both cav archers and halberdiers are countered by skirmishers, and halberdiers are going to be even better countered by skirmishers in the next update, because skirmishers are going to be getting a little bit of extra bonus damage against the spearman line. So the problem, right, with, say, a CA halb army is that you can just die to an all-in skirmisher army. And especially given how expensive CA are, that's probably not something we want to see. So, right, I've established, right, there's some good reasons to want to buff Japanese CA, but I think the bonus that we have, while it's a nice effort, I think it maybe goes too far in a direction that we don't want to go into. What I want to do now is evaluate some of the possible suggestions, right? I'm going to even include some suggestions in here that I don't think are very good, but I want to be able to tell you why I don't think they're very good. And we'll start off with the first option, and that is we could remove Parthian tactics from the civilization. I'm pretty sure medieval Japan did not have that much contact with the lands that would constitute, the former Parthia, though perhaps they would have had more contact with steppe peoples like the Mongols who fought in a similar fashion. Regardless, keeping the history out of it too much, getting rid of Parthian tactics would mean that in the late game, Japanese cav archers wouldn't have as much durability, and that means they'd go down faster, and so your cav archer army that has so much DPS, well, you would lose units quicker, and so the DPS would go down quicker, and that might balance things out. Now, while that would fix the Imperial Age, it would leave the Castle Age basically the same. And that's a major problem for the civilization, and of course the civilization could go up against it, because I think your skirmishers in Castle Age just kind of wind up dying to Japanese cav archers, and I think it probably snowballs from there. So, because we don't fix the mid-game, I actually think that removing Parthian tactics from the Civ is probably the worst change you can make, and really doesn't address the major issue here. Now, you could try splitting up the bonus so that it's +1 attack in Castle Age, and then +1 in Imperial Age. This would be along the same lines of the Teuton's melee armor bonus for infantry and cavalry, and also the Britain foot archer range. This does make some sense, and even just taking 1 pierce damage off of the unit in Castle Age, I think would really go a long way to getting things more in balance. When we do get to the late game, right, and even just the Imperial Age, right, kind of the early stages of the late game, well, we'd be in the same boat as we would before. And so, well, I think this suggestion is okay. I don't think it goes quite far enough that we need to, because having this as a Civ bonus is just really, really strong in terms of the power spike it gives you. Now, a third option here is to shift the Cataparuto bonus of faster firing and unpacking trebuchets and make that a civilization bonus, that of course you get for free, and then have this +2 attack versus archers be an Imperial Age technology. Now I think this makes a lot of sense. Remember that Magyars, Turks, and Tatars, they have to actually pay for their cavalry archer performance bonuses that make them above the generic, right? Magyars have to pay for recurve bow, Turks gotta pay for Sipahi, and Tatars have to pay for silk armor at the castle. If the Japanese are going to join the ranks of S tier cavalry archer civs, it seems fair that you would make them pay for it too, and so this would also solve the balance issues in the Castle Age, and so you wouldn't get this massive power spike for free in Imperial Age, but if you can research this tech, all of a sudden, right, you can change the game, and that could be pretty interesting, but it still wouldn't be a big Imperial Age power spike, because you gotta wait for the tech to research. And now a fourth possibility here is you could just change this +2 attack bonus altogether and make it something entirely different. And I'll throw out a few ideas for some possibilities here. The first is that we could allow ourselves to be inspired by another unit of the civilization, the samurai, and maybe give the cav archers +2 attack, something like that, versus other unique units. I think this idea has a lot of upside. The first reason is that against generic units, it wouldn't change the balance in the game, which I think is a plus. The second, that as a cav archer unit with an attack bonus against unique units, you would have a lot of value. The samurai as a unit, because it's melee infantry, it kind of struggles to actually utilize its attack bonus versus other unique units, because you often get cut down before getting into range. So units like Mangadai, right, which would be nice to have an attack bonus against, samurai aren't really getting you there. This would also kind of acknowledge the fact that, many samurai, right, like, were mounted and, in many cases would probably be cavalry archers. And because this would be effective against all unique units, I think it would really encourage players to play cavalry archers, maybe in situations that they otherwise wouldn't. And if you found yourself, say, up against something like mass skirmishers, that would be a nice option for where you would say, hey, let's go switch to the samurai. So I don't think that this move would completely crowd out making the samurai. Another option that we have in terms of just changing the bonus altogether, right, is that because Japanese have kind of weak cavalry, and going halberdiers with cavalry archers is a little awkward, you might give the Japanese cav archers maybe some kind of attack bonus versus cavalry, right? if you were going to do this, I definitely suggest being like +1 castle, +1 imperial age, do it in that format. But again, if you can imagine, if you had a Japanese cav archer light cav army against, say, a Magyar cav archer hussar army, if you had a bonus for your CA versus cavalry, that would help you thin out some of those light cav, right? And it, would really help out that army comp. A third thing we could do in a similar kind of vein is maybe modify Parthian tactics. Heck, we could maybe even rename it, especially for the Japanese, and boost the damage output versus spearmen. This would be a nice bonus because, once again, it would help to support light cavalry in your army composition when it's going to be countered by halberdiers. So that could be an indirect way of buffing that light cav, right? By essentially giving a buff to their best friend. Now, you can do this a few ways. You can just boost the amount of damage versus spearmen, or you can include another separate bonus versus all units that fall into the infantry armor class. And that would actually go a little further because it would also be a bonus against heavy infantry. And I kind of like that idea too, right? So it kind of depends on just how much you want to scale it. But anyways, these are all possibilities. We could think of others like, I don't know, maybe reducing bonus damage they take from units like skirmishers. That could be interesting because they're not thinning them out as quickly. And you could balance them that way, whatever. There's a lot of ways I think you could go about this. But I think the point here of this sort of public service announcement for Japanese cav archers is that this is something that I think is going to need to be changed sooner rather than later in the next patch. And I know I haven't done a ton of videos lately, but I felt like I really needed to put this one out there. So hey, feel free, spread the word, let the good people know. And hey, when you tell the devs, right, watch this video, have a little conversation, right? Hey, just if you're the developers, right, just leave a comment, right? I'll get back to you. We'll have lunch. That being said, guys, I'm Jimmy James 59, and I'll see you out there in the lab. Peace.